Spider-Man opened his eyes and saw red. Not blood. Not danger. Mars. His last memory? Earth, crumbling in fire. Now he was alone in a dome, breathing stolen time. No signals. No stars. Just silence. But something was moving beneath the surface. And a voice whispered in his mind, familiar, but wrong. Earth was gone, but his story had just begun. The first thing he saw was red. Not blood. Mars. Spider-Man gasped, sitting up hard against the cold floor of a cracked glass dome. His suit clung to his body like a second skin, scorched in places, flickering with faint energy surges. The HUD blinked erratically, glitching. Oxygen levels, 12%. Temperature, hostile. Radiation, stable, for now. He looked up. No Earth in the sky. Just the black void. No clouds. No stars. No blue planet hovering above the horizon. Just emptiness. Friday, he rasped. Silence. Static. His AI was fried. Whatever power source remained in his suit was barely enough to keep him breathing. Around him, the dome stretched in a half-circle, dusty, cracked, abandoned. Empty food packs. Dried-out plants. Oxygen scrubbers frozen mid-cycle. No sign of life. And yet, someone had written on the inside of the glass, scrawled with ash and fingertips. You were chosen. Peter stumbled to his feet. His head throbbed. The last thing he remembered. Flashes. A firestorm swallowing Manhattan. Doctor Strange opening a portal mid-collapse. Tony screaming something Peter couldn't hear. Then, white light. And now? Mars? He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be alive. He staggered toward the far end of the dome and pressed his hand against the door sensor. Nothing. Locked. No power. But beyond the glass, he could see red plains stretching forever. Olympus Mons rose like a jagged god in the distance. And something else. Tracks. Clawed. Deep. Not Martian rovers. Not human. Fresh. He wasn't alone. Suddenly, a low hum filled the dome. The emergency lights flickered on, pale and sickly. Something had triggered a backup system. Peter's HUD blinked again, just enough to stabilize. A faint ping echoed through the system. Lifeform detected, 0.5 kilometers. Signal ID, unknown, matching genetic profile. His blood ran cold. Someone out there shared his DNA. A clone? Another survivor? A warning? Peter slid open a vent in the dome wall and crawled into the narrow maintenance shaft. No weapons. No backup. No plan. But he had his webs. Limited, sure. But maybe enough. As he crawled, he passed more markings on the metal panels, like someone had been here before him. Same handwriting. Same words again and again. Don't trust the silence. He's watching. They took Earth. You're next. Peter stopped crawling. His breath hitched. He turned off the HUD. Silence returned. And for the first time since he woke up, Spider-Man realized something worse than being alone. He wasn't. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was alive. Peter crept out of the ventilation shaft into the dust-covered corridor of what looked like a Martian outpost. Everything was dim orange and dull chrome, coated in layers of red sand and abandonment. He'd seen abandoned buildings before, but this wasn't decay. It was emptied. Recently. Every screen was cracked. Consoles smashed. Something had moved through here, fast and angry. His HUD blinked again. Motion detected, 24 meters. Pathing, irregular. Source, unknown. Peter froze. The hallway stretched in both directions, each one equally dead. But the sensor wasn't lying. Something was moving. He crouched low and followed the signal, feet silent against the metal flooring. His webs were nearly gone, just a few cartridges left. One misstep, and he wouldn't be Spider-Man anymore, just Peter Parker on Mars. The corridor ended in a hatch marked Research, Dome B. The door was ajar. Inside, wreckage. Tables overturned. Lab equipment smashed. Screens flickering, projecting fragments of data. But one terminal still glowed. Peter stepped toward it. The screen lit up, recognizing his biosignature. A hologram blinked into life. "Welcome back, Subject 42. Peter's stomach dropped. A security feed flickered, grainy footage of himself, walking these same halls days ago. Only, it wasn't him. It was another Spider-Man. Same build. Same gait. But something was wrong. The other Peter's suit was darker, segmented, twitching with nano-like fibers that pulsed like veins. And the mask, no lenses. Just black voids where his eyes should be. Peter whispered, "Who are you?" Behind him, the motion sensor pinged again. 6 meters. Behind. He spun, fired a web. Nothing. Just empty hallway. He turned back. The console was off. Wiped. Like it had never been on at all. The hatch slammed shut. Peter backed up, ready to fight, but a voice echoed through the intercom. Low. Familiar. Almost like his own voice underwater. "You shouldn't have woken up." Peter's fists clenched. "Who are you?" The voice replied, calm and cruel. "You already know. You're just trying not to remember." The hatch reopened. No footsteps. No breathing. No sound. Just a trail, drag marks in the dust, leading out into the open Martian air. Peter stepped outside. The wind howled across the barren land. Olympus Mons loomed in the distance, but his focus was on the dome beyond, half collapsed, glowing faintly with energy. Symbols were etched on the surface, pulsing blue. Not human. Not Earth-made. The AI in his suit pinged again. Energy signature detected, non-Terran origin. Link to Earth departure event. Status, active. Peter's breath caught. The explosion that took Earth wasn't natural. It wasn't war. It was a relocation. The world wasn't destroyed. It was moved. And whatever moved it was still watching. The dome trembled beneath his feet. Peter stepped carefully through the fractured entryway of the second habitat. It wasn't empty like the last. This one felt preserved. The air was breathable. The tech hummed with quiet power. Lights still flickered on the walls. This place had been used recently. Or maybe still was. His eyes scanned the room. There were photos. Old ones. Faces of Avengers taped to the wall like memories someone didn't want to forget. Tony. Steve. Natasha. Chala. Even Scott Lang, making a ridiculous face. All of them surrounded by a red circle. Except one. His own face had a line through it. Peter took a step back. That's when the projector activated. A hologram burst to life, static-laced but unmistakable. Dr. Strange. He looked frantic. Covered in ash. His cape burned. He wasn't standing in a lab. He was recording from chaos. "Peter, if this is playing, then I failed. But you're alive. That means I didn't fail completely." Peter froze. "You need to understand, Earth wasn't destroyed. It was extracted. Ripped out of time and sealed away by something we couldn't fight. Something older than the multiverse. You were the only one we could send out." The hologram glitched. "I laced your suit with memory blockers to protect you. If you remembered too soon, they would have found you. But now? It's time. Peter's HUD surged. Files unlocked. Hidden memories. Flashes. Strange casting a spell as the skies tore open. Thor shouting through a burning portal. Wanda crying. Tony handing him a broken device. Saying something Peter could now finally hear. Don't save us. Survive us. The light consumed everything. Then nothing. Back in the present, Peter's knees buckled. He hadn't been spared. He had been launched, like an escape pod with a pulse. A signal. Someone had used him to distract the enemy long enough to hide Earth. And now the enemy knew he was alive. The voice returned, this time louder, inside his head. You remember now. Good. That means the hunt begins. Peter turned toward the entrance. The walls trembled. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Then a figure stepped into the light. Spider-Man. But wrong. His suit was laced in pulsing black threads. The emblem distorted. No eyes, just a mask with a carved smile. He walked with Peter's swagger, but none of his soul. Why are you doing this? Peter asked. The other tilted his head. Because I saw what they did. To us. To Earth. I didn't escape. He pointed at Peter. You did. Then he said something Peter would never forget. If you want to find Earth, you have to kill me first. Peter's fists clenched. His breath sharpened. He didn't know what this version of him had seen, but he knew one thing. This wasn't a fight for survival anymore. It was a race. And time was already running out. The sky cracked open like glass. A white beam tore across Mars, illuminating the dust-red plains in unnatural light. Above, the cube-shaped vessel hovered, silent, massive, ancient. Its surface shimmered like shifting glass, constellations trapped beneath translucent walls. Peter's breath caught in his throat. Inside that cube was Earth. He could feel it. The corrupted version of him lay broken beside him, flickering with residual energy. His mask was off. His face, older, scarred, defeated, stared up at the cube with haunted eyes. I thought if I erased the signal, the other Peter murmured, they'd let me die. Peter shook his head. They don't let anyone die. They collect. A low hum filled the air. The cube began descending, slowly, like it was drawn by Peter's presence. The beam locked onto his chest, tracking not just him, but the signature Doctor Strange had embedded in his suit. The fail-safe. He was the key. Peter stood tall. His suit, half-shredded, began to reconfigure as old subroutines kicked in. Hidden tech Strange had left behind came online. Symbols glowed along his arms. His eyes burned blue with multidimensional coding. One word flashed across his HUD. Portal engaged. A circle of light formed beneath his feet. A gateway to the cube. One chance. Banner's voice echoed in his mind, from a memory long buried. You don't need to be the strongest. You just need to go farther than anyone else. Peter looked down at the broken variant. You coming? The other laughed bitterly. I burned that chance long ago. Peter nodded once. Then let me get it right this time. And he jumped. Straight into the beam. The light swallowed him whole. Inside the cube, reality bent. Peter spun through mirrored cities, frozen oceans, skyscrapers trapped mid-fall. Earth wasn't just relocated, it was paused. Time inside the cube moved differently, held in stasis like an insect in amber. People were still mid-step. A child chasing a ball. A couple embracing. Birds in the air. Frozen. Preserved. Alive. Peter landed in the middle of Times Square, completely silent, empty, frozen in place. The architect emerged. It didn't walk. It unfolded, tall, translucent, made of starlight and memory. No face. Just presence. Its voice came from everywhere. Why do you resist preservation? Peter stepped forward, fists clenched. Because we're not art. We're not trophies. We're alive. Your species ends itself. We intervened. Then you should have helped. Not stolen. The architect paused. You do not belong here. Peter raised his hand. The failsafe glowed bright. The portal code activated. I don't. But they do. He slammed his hand into the ground. Light exploded. Time shattered. Earth began to move again, slowly at first, then fully waking. The stasis collapsed. A ripple of freedom spread across continents. Outside, the cube began to fracture. On Mars, the corrupted Peter watched as the sky turned blue. He smiled, just once. And vanished with the collapsing architect network. Peter fell to his knees as the portal closed behind him. Earth was back. And Spider-Man? He had saved the world. Alone. But not forgotten. Peter didn't speak. The other Spider-Man, the one twisted by time, trauma, and something worse, stood perfectly still at the edge of the dome. Wind swept red dust across his boots, but he didn't move. His suit pulsed like it was breathing, alive with black threads that shifted across the surface like liquid metal. Peter stepped forward slowly. You're me. The other tilted his head, smiling behind the mask. I was. Then he attacked. The first blow came fast, too fast. Peter barely dodged it, but the second hit him like a truck. He crashed through a wall of shattered consoles, rolled across the floor, and fired a web mid-fall to slow the impact. It snapped. The corrupted Spidey's webs weren't made of silk. They were made of void, antimatter strands that melted metal and hissed against air. He launched again, slicing downward with a clawed gauntlet. Peter blocked it with both arms, flipping backward and landing in a crouch. You're not here to help, Peter said, panting. I'm here to end this, the other replied. You were the failsafe. But I was the experiment. Peter froze. What do you mean? I didn't survive Earth's fall, the other continued, circling him. I became it. When they extracted the planet, I was left behind, alone, orbiting the shell of a world that wasn't there. Time broke. Mind shattered. And then, they found me. Who? The ones who took Earth. They call themselves the architects. They don't conquer planets. They collect them. Peter's blood ran cold. They rebuilt me, the other Spider-Man whispered. Said I could have peace if I erased the signal. If I erased you. So you're their puppet. I'm what's left of your future. They clashed again, webs tangling in midair, claws scraping across reinforced walls. The dome cracked with every blow. Peter fought like hell, but the other Spidey anticipated every move. Because they had the same instincts. But Peter had something else. Hope. He dodged a sweeping strike and fired a webline at a nearby terminal. He yanked it hard, pulling the fusion core free from the console. The room erupted in light. Energy surged through the floor. The corrupted Spidey staggered. Peter leapt forward and punched him with everything he had, memories, pain, fury, all behind the swing. They both went crashing through the dome wall and tumbled across Martian soil. The corrupted mask cracked. Beneath it, Peter saw something horrifying. His own face. Aged. Burned. Eyes blackened with void, but tears streaming down the cheeks. I didn't want this, the other whispered. Peter knelt beside him, hands shaking. I know. Then the ground shook. A beam of light shot from the sky, massive, white, focused. Above them, a black cube hovered in orbit. The architect's ship. It had found him. And Earth? Was inside.